And let me talk to you about a serious subject. This whole betting thing that's going on right now. It's a serious pandemic. It's becoming extremely pervasive. You see this across all platforms. I think they were even talking about that they're going to now extend betting to where you can do it on the plane. Now, remember them days when you would go to the park and you would talk to your boys or something like that, and you would say, hey, you know what? I bet you I can make this jump shot, right? Little innocent type of things. I can make this jump shot. Maybe if you were golfing, I'm going to make this birdie. Maybe if you were, playing baseball, I'm going to have a home run or I'm going to hit it over the fence. All these small little bets that you had. There was no significance with that. Because if you lost, or if you didn't achieve it, what happened? You just walk away from it. Never hurt you, never impacted you at all. But now we have where this betting, it is affecting your actual financial situation. Now you're impacting your accounts, the money that you're bringing in, the money that you need for your bills, the money that you need to take care of your family. Because believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, most of these folks that are betting, they don't have this side money that they're betting with. They just don't have this whole, excess bag of money that's sitting on the side where they're like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just spend this money here because it's not going to affect my situation. No. Nowadays, we have so many folks that are in critical positions and they're looking for that bet to hopefully change their life, hopefully get them out of debt. So then your mind starts working differently. And all you do is you think like, you know what, all I got to do is bet on some team, bet on this play, bet on whatever it is. And if it goes through, that could possibly change where I can make a difference in my life. I can be able to bring more money to myself. I can be able to change my circumstances. It seems easy. But we always know, if you understand, when you go to Vegas, the house always wins. The house always wins, no matter how much you think you're in control of whatever bet that you choose that you're doing, the house is always in control. Now, I'm going to tell you what I see, the correlation, the parallels of what's going on here. They have figured out, because we're in this time of where there's a lot of deregulation, or that's going to be where it's going to be magnified. The deregulation is going to be on steroids now with this next climate, this next administration that's coming in. They figured out that, you know what? We can start moving the Wall Street type of mentality of what they call derivatives and start giving it to normal people. Let normal people start doing that derivative type of thing. And the derivative type of thing was was the one main factor that caused the financial collapse that we just went through in 2008. Because derivatives are basically just betting on price change. Betting on, you have these options and these future contracts and stuff like that. All these dudes are doing, are they just betting on these different price changes? I know I watched this one little documentary that was talking about how intricate this stuff is, where they had some firms that were trying to figure out what was going to happen with oil prices. And it was based off of the level of the refinement containers in some other states. And so what they did was they went and they hired some guy to use his drones to fly over these refinement containers and to look to see, based off of how the sun was beaming down on these containers, how much oil was left, or whether the containers were being filled or if they were depleting. And basically these guys were betting on these contracts like that were years and years away of how long or how sustainable the oil would last, or when would the oil start to deplete. Like, these guys were that intricate to go and hire somebody and have them fly a drone, and just based off of the sun, they couldn't see the actual container. They couldn't see inside the actual refinement container. But they were guessing based off of what the sun was doing and how the shadows were coming on the oil. That kind of crazy stuff. And these folks are betting billions of dollars. They're betting on stuff that they don't even own. This is what the Wall Street guys do. All kind of crazy stuff. They bet on all kind of stuff that doesn't even make any sense. But that's what we have now implemented into the general population, where now everybody can bet on all these crazy, ridiculous things, whether or not somebody is going to wear a certain clothing if they go into the game, whether or not this person's going to get injured if they're in the game, whether or not, you know, somebody's going to sing the national anthem without messing up. Like, that's the derivative type of stuff. And we're dealing with that right now. And with the financial collapse, what occurred was that these guys had these mortgage-backed securities. They were wrapping in all of these loans of people that had, you know, real estate, wrapped in all these loans. And then they were selling those packages, these tranches, selling them to these investors. And invest for telling the investors, hey man, you're gonna have a high rate of return on all these, you know, mortgages. And you had these rating agencies that were coming out and say, hey, those mortgages that you're buying, these packages you're buying, they're rated A+, A++, A-, or whatever. They had these ratings. So that gave investors confidence to be like, oh, you know what, cool. If these things are rated highly, then I ain't got nothing to worry about. So then the investors went out and they said, man, we got to get these credit default swaps, which are basically insurance, because we got to protect ourselves just in case these things start having losses. They start defaulting on their mortgages. So they get the credit default swaps. Boom. Everybody thinks they're good. No problem or anything like that. But then what do we know happened with the financial collapse? The prices started dropping in value of the houses. People started defaulting on their loans. Just like I told y'all before, when I had all those properties, hey, I couldn't keep up with all those properties. So what happens? You default on the loans. Then those investors, they come back to the people like AIG, which was supposed to be the ones who were giving the insurance to protect these losses. AIG says, man, we ain't got the money. We don't have no money to sit up here and cover y'all losses. Boom. So now you have this whole cascade where nobody's able to recover. The banks start having to liquidate. They have all these massive write-offs. These are the things that wind up, this is what wind up collapsing the market. One of the main factors, but these were all bets. These were all bets because they bet that what was going to happen, that real estate prices were going to continue to go higher or values were going to continue to get higher. They bet on that. And then when the bet came where that bet collapsed, and that wasn't going to happen, somebody's got to pay the piper. And they couldn't pay the piper. So you have to look at the same exact thing that's going on right now with all of this betting that's occurring that you may be engaging with. Say maybe you're one of those folks that went out here and you got a credit card and you started using it to take care of the bets. What happens if these bets don't come through? You got to pay these credit cards. You can't pay the credit cards. It affects your credit. Maybe you can kind of get away with the fact that it's not going to necessarily hurt you personally. But, you know, credit card places can try to come after you. And then if they try to come after you, then you got to do the bankruptcy or whatever. You got to make arrangements, whatever. So I'm just saying that, my men, this whole betting thing that's occurring right now, it's forecasting a collapse getting ready to come, because it's giving too many people like you and I the ability to make these crazy bets. And where are you going to get the money from if you run out of the money? Betting, what does it do? It hits your dopamine and makes you feel good, and you're going to continue to do it. Then you think that you're in control. when we know you're not in control. You can't control these games or whatever folks are doing. And some of these games, these folks are doing things on purpose because they got other bets that they're making for themselves. It used to be, who was the guy who they said who was betting on his own self as far as baseball? Pete Rose, I think it was. He was betting on himself. So he's the player, and then he's going in and he's going to put these side bets to know what he's going to actually do and then capitalize on his side bets. He ain't the only one. There's many people that have done that type of stuff. So you're not in control of this stuff. And then you got the loss hunting type stuff that you do. When you lose a bet, just like with trading and stuff like that, when you lose a bet, you try to do your best to recover and try to get back, to square one with the loss that you already had. But then what that does is you suffer another loss. And then all you're doing is trying to chase something to try to figure out how to cover that loss. So this can be a calamity. It is a calamity waiting to happen. It is a collapse waiting to happen. And all you got to do is watch every social media platform that you're on. Whatever you see, it's all talking about betting. And you can get yourself in serious trouble. And you can dig yourself in serious holes. And then you get to a point where you're just addicted. And there's so many folks that are addicted to where they're willing. You want to talk about drug addiction? This is addiction the same way. And what happens with somebody who has a drug addiction? They got to find ways to try to get their fix. You got to find ways to get your fix because you've been betting and you've been losing. But you still, and there's going to be times where sometimes you may win. And then all that does is it gives you that extra incentive to be like, you know what? I got to go back at it again. I got to keep working at it. Don't get caught up with this betting stuff. I'm telling you, it's a serious problem. It's happening right now. These folks are expanding it. It's going to get worse with these next 4 years. All this deregulation, it's going to get worse. And you don't have control over it. So I'm telling you, my men, be careful out there. Only bet what you were willing to lose, which is always that sacred line, even when you're dealing with financial trading and stuff like that. Only bet what you can lose. Pull away from it. Let that loss go. That's it. Whatever it is. Make sure that you monitor. You're moderately doing this betting stuff. All right? On that note, I got to go to the park like I normally do. I'm going to catch you on the next note. Peace out.